Grand Village. I am your friend Obed Arango, and today we have a session in English, but later I can do a summary in Spanish. Bienvenidos a Diálogos de la Villa Inmigrante, and today we have a very special guest, a friend of mine, an activist that I respect deeply and tremendously for her work and fight for the good causes, Miss Carmina Taylor. And therefore, follow us today from the city of the brotherly love, Philadelphia, in the suburb of Norristown. Welcome, Carmina.
Thank you, Obed. It's wonderful to be here with you.
It has been a long time since I wanted to have you here in the podcast and have to talk about many things.
Absolutely, and I think it's great timing.
But today we will focus mostly in the Norristown area school district.
Yes.
Because we can do another podcast to talk about the time of the pandemic, the Black Lives Matter, the movement that of many years ago, and the history behind that. However, today we will focus on the Norristown area school districts, the things that are changing and happening. Therefore, Carmina, why don't you tell us who you are? Then our public can meet you.
So, my name is Carmina. I have been a civil rights activist since I was 16. I'm Puerto Rican and I'm Black. And my passion to serve others stems from just knowing that racial justice is necessary. So during the summer of 2020, I got in my car. I met some community leaders across the state virtually because of all the civil unrest and all the Black Lives Matter movement protests. And I went around the state and I met people that did not have a chance to have a partnership, an ally. So from there, I ended up creating a statewide organization called the We Can't Wait PA Statewide Coalition. And Obed is from what I learned from you about the Martin Luther King book, Why We Can't Wait. Years later, I formulated the Movement for Black and Brown Lives in Montgomery County because I saw the need to localize racial injustices, certainly in the education system in Montgomery County, and to broaden my efforts across the county. But ironically enough, school boards found ways to try to censor me by altering the policy 903 for public comments. I believe it was in 2021 that Solderton took the sentence out of the policy to not allow a community group or an advocate speak at a meeting on behalf of someone in the district. And so I have been, for the last few years, 20 years at Wissahickon, but the last few years where I can speaking about equity issues in the school board. What has led me to ascertain at this moment is that we have to amend the public school code. It is from 1949. It has very, very broad and unbridled power, quite honestly, for school board directors. It doesn't have a definition of community engagement and accountability to the community. And as more and more boards, quite honestly, turn blue, as they've turned blue in these two last circles, they've become a little bit more unbridled. Democratic school boards in the county. So my position is that overall we should not, in this moment in time, be electing school board directors by political affiliation. I think that taints the governance. I think it taints the local dynamics. It taints whatever power structure is politically in the local community, kind of dictates the power dynamics on the board. So basically, for years I've been talking about this. I moved into Norristown last June from Philadelphia.
Would you like some water?
I have some water, actually. I moved to Norristown. I didn't know I was going to live in Norristown. But what ended up happening is I started observing the primaries, the elections last year. And I got very concerned that the new leadership I kind of found out that had their own visions of how they wanted to reshape the district. And so they came out the gate. They got sworn in December 1st. And when they had their first public meeting, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it was from the moment when they had their first public meeting in January did I realize that I had a purpose with the knowledge that I've gained through all of my civic and civil rights work, all of my education and advocacy work, and all of my equity work. And so I am that person that's passionate. My son is 33 years old, but I still care about today's youth. Even though I don't have a school in this system, I'm a stakeholder. Even though I may not live in one particular district, I'm still a Pennsylvanian. And I think people need to think about that. And we have to be able to advocate for people wherever they are, if you live in the district or not. I mean, theoretically, the public code allows each school district to dominate and dictate how they want to facilitate their public comments. And it's my opinion that the Pennsylvania School Board Association, they're the influencer of policy changes locally. And I think they have encouraged school districts to keep minimizing the language in Policy 903 to make it a very narrow opportunity for people to speak. So I'm here because I truly believe that my work must continue. I must fight for the marginalized. I must fight for people that are unaware of policies and their rights.
No, and that is something that we have to remember. All of us, we have civic responsibilities. Regardless, as you mentioned, my kid is already 33 years old, and I don't have perhaps any more kids in the school. That doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It should be the concern of all of us to see that the new generations get the education that they deserve,
Absolutely.
the services that they deserve, the opportunities that they deserve.
Absolutely.
If we go into the list of things, let's number, because that also will allow us to see how in this podcast we will tackle
Sure.
topic by topic. What will be
The list of
the list of the changes that the new board of Norristown Area School District that was sworn in December to today, May, what has been the changes that you have noticed?
So let's take the timeline
Okay.
from January 20th, which was their first school board meeting, the new board members, to April 27th.
Okay.
Okay? Because that was the last school board meeting that they had. Okay? So if I were to list it, the number one major change and abruption was the terminating of the superintendent's contract.
As the very first action.
Absolutely. And what's ironic is it was a working session. Normally in Pennsylvania, work sessions lead up to the action or the voting meeting next. So they kind of wiggled around the policies of that. The law says that as long as they list something as an item on the agenda, whether it's a work session or a voting meeting, they can still vote. But it's very unusual for school boards to put a voting item at a work session. So January 20th was the work session. They chose to not terminate the contract. 7 days later, on January 27th, they chose to institute a contract for a staffing firm. What's interesting about that is they chose a firm from Chicago. They chose a firm that had a fee. You know, when you have an underfunded school district like Norristown, and I looked at the contract. The actual fee contract is $79,000, but there's an open space for costs over that amount for travel and accommodations or anything else that the staffing firm needs. So that's the issue, because theoretically it could have went up to $100,000. But now that I'm looking back on May 6th, I think the pressure that we put on them, they've limited the amount of times that Alma would come from Chicago. I realize that now. But nonetheless, that happened on January 27th. During that period, I sent several right-to-know requests. I sent several accountability policies. There's only one policy right now as it stands that school boards are supposed to respond to a constituent, and it's called Policy 906. You present an issue or criticism, and theoretically, they're supposed to answer with specifics and details. I asked about the process in which they made the decision to try to to terminate the superintendent's contract. I asked about the process following. I asked real specific questions after that first meeting. They did not respond. The solicitor.
But isn't that illegal? Not to
Well,
respond.
here's what happened. Eventually, by pressure, I got them to respond. But the solicitor basically said, we have fulfilled our legal obligation, that we've acknowledged your receipt, and that's all we have to do. And see, that's another problem with school boards, is that they utilize their solicitors to create word salads and just legal language to just say, I did the bare minimum that the law said. Now, that effort alone contradicts with the reasonings why they wanted to have a superintendent search, right? I was at the meeting, and they really tried to convey that they knew what they were doing. They thought it was in the best interest of the community. There was going to be an engagement process. It was going to be transparent. It was going to be inclusive. But even between that meeting on January 20th and then when they voted for the contract, things still seemed a bit ambiguous. Even the timeline that they had shared that time did indicate that actually the recruitment process was supposed to have happened the month before, that they were going to have all these other focus groups and interviews, that they were theoretically going to try to hire someone in May, but they didn't talk about the details. Now, what's interesting after January 27th is they announced that they were having 2 community meetings a week and a half after that date with not getting the community prior notice, right? And I already have sensed, by being a new resident and an active school board speaker, that there's a disconnect in terms of them communicating with the community. They have barriers. The nights that they have them, the location of the central administration office is not conducive to any bus stop or public transportation, and they don't allow people to speak online. So with that, I questioned how in the world could they try to pull off the 2 focus groups within a week and a half timing for a disconnected school district, right? Or disengaged, unengaged. So from there, they had 2 focus groups in person. They exclaimed that they were going to have interviews virtually with other parts of the community, and that was the other thing. Both of the 2 focus groups were in the Norristown municipality, but they didn't factor in having in-person discussions with East Nardin or West Nardin. Again, with the overall timeline, trying to have someone hired with an agreement letter in June when you're theoretically starting in February just seems short-sighted to me.
Yeah.
Right? Go ahead.
Let me just make a pause here, because this is important for our public. One of those sessions that this firm, Alma Group, did
Yes.
in order to consult the community, there were 2. There was one in Carver Center,
Yes.
and there was one in Aclamo.
Yes.
Personally, I went to Carver Center. And here...
And I went to Aclamo.
Exactly. And here I have my notes. I have my notes of the day. In the notes of that day, I mentioned that there were practically 3 groups. In one group, there was 5 people. In another group, there were 6 people. And in another group, there were 7 people. But it was only in one group where there were parents, because they had a translator. There were 4 parents, the moderator, and a the former president of the school district, who was Chris Caramillo. In that group, those were all the parents. Later, during the time, I was in the group of 7. Later during the time came 3 more people that joined it to the different groups. And I believe one of those was parents. Therefore, I did my notes of that day. Practically, we have 5, 6, 7. We are not talking about 20 people.
Exactly.
No, 20 people. And from there, only 4 parents. Maybe perhaps 5 parents. that were all Hispanic. The rest of the people were administrators and not really members of the community in general.
And the
there were-
community in place,
yeah.
because that primarily was trying to get as many black parents or families there. That's why they had it at the Carver
in the
Center.
Carver Center.
And they're one of their lowest performing elementary schools, Hancock Elementary.
Which is near.
Yes.
By. Therefore,
They didn't have representation.
therefore, in my opinion, that was a failure. And I expressed it openly the next day that I was invited to go to the pastors, I think it's called the ministerium. They told me that they will be there. They invited me to be there. You were there also. And I was very open to tell that to Alma Group representative that me as an specialist of qualitative research, this is not really at the standards of what is a serious qualitative research. Also, you cannot call them focus groups, because in focus groups you have recording. In focus group you have certain elements that make it that the people can focus in responding certain key questions. And I remember that the last questions were rushing. Therefore, I took all my notes. I took all my notes of that day in the group where I was. I did some ethnography of that day. I was not in Aclamo. I know that there was more people in Aclamo. But when I am seeing the report here, or what they are saying in the report that they
Keep going
gave,
down. Aquí.
yeah, let's see.
Going down, it gives you this.
Yes, exactly. They say that the focus groups, let me see, that in the focus groups they had, well,
There you
community gatherings, 2 in person and 2 virtual, 73 attendees. Therefore, unless there was more people in the virtual that I don't know, in this other, if we count only parents, there were 4 or 5 parents at the maximum. The rest of the another 10 that were members. Therefore, and maybe in Aclamo, there were another 20.
There was maybe about 20 parents.
20 parents, okay.
And there was only one black parent.
Okay.
One black parent. And she was in my group. She was in the English-speaking group. Everyone else that was in my group that was English-speaking were board members, nonprofit community partners, and myself as a community advocate resident, and one black parent. The one black parent that was in my group at Aclamo was also at the Carver Center. So it wasn't even a new black parent that was at Aclamo. So, I mean, you know, and I spoke, I think, a few meetings ago about the breakdown of what they tried to present on April 6th. That would be the third thing that happened. So they terminated the contract of the superintendent. They had this ALMA contract. Then they had the focus groups. I guess that would have been March or something. And then they presented their findings on April 6th. And if you take the 463 responses and you break that down, Obed.
March 27,
Right.
for March 27 to April 6, we are talking about that they say that they process all the information,
Right. Exactly.
all the conclusions
Yes.
in a week.
That's what they did. So of the 463 responders, I mean, they only really did 65 students, which is what, a modicum of the high school.
I mean, the high school, it has thousands.
Thousands, 2,000, I think, or more. And then caregivers. I didn't understand that. So there was 200 caregivers, there were 65 students, 113 teachers, 25 non-instructors, 4 district administrators, and 141 residents. Look at that, 141 residents. Those are taxpayers. Those are potentially taxpayers. So if you think about this, if the district has roughly 7,300 kids, you have to have at least half of that, right? Or that are parents. So now you're up to 10,000 or more people. What is 141 people?
Will it show me the disengagement
Yes.
that the school district has, that the current board has with the residents,
Sure.
and the residents are disengaged.
There isn't a proven, I have yet to see a proven track record that different people have consistently come to board meetings. I haven't seen a consistent turnout in other things. Previous meetings years ago, they're not connected. So my thought process is, what efforts did you do to go over and beyond to engage? Now, there was a particular parent that's an ally of the board that went on Facebook, trying to promote the survey, trying to promote the meetings. But at the end of the day, people didn't show up. People didn't respond. When you look at the fact that let's say, okay, so we have 7,300 students, 52% are Hispanic. So you're talking about at least 3,500 students. And when you get down to the percentage of Hispanic students that participated,
It's very low.
17%.
17%, because here, when they say about survey, only 65 students
Yeah.
from the whole survey.
Yes.
Only 65 students. That is not representative.
That's not. And when they presented that, they said they felt like this was the best process they could to glean where the community was and what the community wanted.
No, and to the public, I have to say this. Some of you know, I am professor at the University of Pennsylvania. One of the classes that I teach is qualitative research. My students are educators, are social workers, political science, anthropologists. I am a specialist in qualitative research. I am an anthropologist, and I know the techniques of qualitative research. One of those techniques is surveys. And if you are telling me that only 65 students of all the middle schools, the two high schools, and I don't know if they send it to elementary schools. I don't know that. The process doesn't tell me that.
Exactly.
This report is not telling me how many of those came from middle schools or high schools.
Oh, here we go.
Maybe here is called minor. And then they send to the elementary schools.
But see, that doesn't. Let's make that bigger. How do I make this bigger here? It doesn't even. Those numbers don't add up, because were those community members? Look, if they only had 65 students, you know what? These were parents. These must have been adults or people representing the area.
Yeah, because these numbers completely differ of what they are saying in the previous. Therefore, this is what happened, and this I had on this studio 1 month ago.
Okay.
Mr. Jeremiah Lemke and Mrs. Cynthia Davenport, president, chair, and vice chair of the current board. And one of the things that I told them is that for me, there was a rushing.
Sure.
This was a rushing methodology, a rushing process. They fired, or they didn't renew, the current superintendent. And then in February 11, I believe so, it was the time when they hired the firm for $79,000, as you already mentioned.
Right, but can I just share that?
Yeah.
The thing about that with the start date in February, here's what I find interesting. They voted on the contract on the 28th of January. My assumption was that they already had the contract in hand, and once they approved of it, they would process the contract. I did a right to know request the next day. I got it almost 30 days later, because they led to me. I was at the meeting. They led to believe that once that contract was going, the services were going to begin. So I think it was very misleading to end up finding out that they actually signed the contract, or I should say, one person signed the contract, Jeremiah.
Which was Jeremiah Lemke.
And I looked at the contract, and it said, the signature of the client. The president of the school board is not the client.
Exactly.
The school system is the client.
Exactly.
And I did a 906 complaint about why did he sign it versus a representative of the system, right? And I got no answer. And so that's problematic because they haven't been transparent from the very beginning. They haven't explained to the community how they really went about making the decision that led up to their first meeting. They did not give real concrete answers beyond not being pleased with the student data, a breakdown of all the factors that are precluded to that, right? Because you can't just come in off the street, in my opinion, and think you can assess a school system in a month when you don't know the nuances. And one person, one entity is not the factor, the primary factor into student outcomes, poor performance. There's many factors. And I asked that, I think, in the January 20th meeting, and they didn't respond to that either. So overall, I just think that this process, and I said this before, it's short-sighted, abrupt. And I think about the third or fourth time I started talking about, they were acutely unaware of how the morale in the district was changing because of the abruptness and the aggressive nature that they wanted to make all these changes so quickly. So here we sit from January 20th to April 27th, and they've made 4 or 5 big moves that normally, if you had a thoughtful board, would have spread that out in time to give the community an adjustment, to take time with the community, like you were saying.
And to engage the community.
Absolutely.
Because if you have the support to the community,
Yes.
it's good for the board and it's good for the school. And one of the things that I see in this process, it was a rushing process.
Absolutely.
I mentioned that in the podcast. We have a 90 minutes conversation 1 month ago. And for me to say that when they presented these results, they didn't really have, first, they finished the process, and next week, 1 week later, they had the results. Therefore, for me to process focus groups, interviews, to focus the one-to-one, because they mentioned that in 2 days, they have 46 sessions. That means that for 2 days, that has 48 hours, or they were doing 2 sessions simultaneously.
And then think about that. It's saying one-on-one.
One-on-one interviews.
That's not even a person an hour.
Therefore, for me, it was like how in 2 days, or maximum 3 days, you do 46 sessions, 225 participants. I mean, I don't have, I just showed you the data that I got from the Carver Center, and my data differs of what I see here. Yeah? However, I didn't see the others. Okay, in the other one, I went with the ministerium. Maybe there were, I think I have the notes of that one. I think there were 12 people.
Sure.
12 people, okay. That goes to the...
But none of them were parents either.
Exactly, to the 221 participants, another 12 people.
Did they consider that an interview or focus group?
I don't know. I don't know how
that was an informal meeting.
I don't know how they consider that. In this process, I don't know how they consider that. Therefore, even the debrief of the information, they didn't give the chance to the community to see this carefully. It's like they rushed to hire, they rushed to do the process,
Sure.
they rushed to give the results, and then next week they are already interviewing.
Yeah.
And now supposedly we are in May, according to their timeline. By June 1st or by June, accepted offer, finalized induction plans. Finally run in May.
Now, mind you that the superintendent's contract ends June 30th. So, you're talking about someone that may be coming from another school system. They have to give at least a 60-day notice or to transition out of their position. And then that's an overlap of time not to even have a one-on-one engagement, something in depth, something concentrated with the outgoing superintendent of this school system. Because I remember there was Dr. Williams or someone else said, Mr. Dormer and Dr. Williams have 2 different functions. She's the administrative oversight role of the district. He oversees operations and everything else.
Yeah.
So how in the world does that give ample enough time? Now, ironically enough, Obed, The contract says that it actually expires in December of this year. But if you're going through the process of solidifying a candidate and sending out an offer in June, then why is the contract period all the way to December? And why didn't they tell the community that? Why didn't they share the details of some broad timelines when they were voting on the contract? Why wasn't it available to the public before the meeting, during the meeting, or the day after the meeting, after the vote?
Exactly. And for me, that is a rushing period of making changes
Sure.
without consulting the community. Here, you can listen the podcast. I am not inventing here. 1 month ago, in my interview, that it was a good interview that I had with them, with Mr. Lemke and Davenport, and Mrs. Davenport. However, we went toe to toe. We went toe to toe. I disagree with them in in many of the things that they say, and I was open to that. And one of the things that I told them, why you are taking decisions without consulting the community. Mrs. Davenport, who gave an honest answer, she says, well, you are right, we didn't consult, but we were elected. Mr. Lemke says, no, let me give a step back, we consult. And then I say, when and how? And he argues that the years talking to the community. I say, no, that is not an official consulting. That is not an official consulting. The years you're living in the community, the years you're talking, no, that is not an official consulting. You cannot tell me that in the process you consult. That is not official. Therefore, I argue to them that for me, democracy is not that you can do whatever you want because you were elected. I told them that for me is a reductionist position of democracy, which actually weakens democracy. For me, democracy is where the community is engaged in the process of decision making, especially in the most important ones. And this is an important one. I encourage them not to act in that way, but actually to engage the community. Therefore, in that conversation, that was 90 minutes, they didn't mention the next thing that they did.
What was that?
The firing or the closing of the Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. It came also as a surprise, as these other actions came as a surprise.
So was that transparent in the process of them trying to make an attempt to call themselves being out in the community? I think it was quite deceptive because they knew. And not only that, Obed, the day before the vote, arbitrarily, unexpectedly, the agenda for the last meeting on April 27th was not available online. They didn't present this new position that was going to replace the DEI office in the previous meeting at the work session. They didn't make any comments that the agenda had been changed or updated from the week before. And if you're someone that doesn't if you don't attend the meetings consecutively, excuse me, or view it, you wouldn't be able to pick up the patterns of deception because you don't have the rhyme or reason of the succession of their steps. So there's no way a new community person would understand what happened at the last meeting.
That's right.
Or the concept of the chief of school. That's how they presented a position to replace the DEI office. And it's a cabinet level position that is centralized out of the superintendent's office, but has a different dimension of work than what the DEI office represented. It now becomes more of an administrative role to attempt to create tone and tenor out there. But it doesn't talk about, I didn't hear, maybe you heard, about the engagement that's needed with the students and other aspects to understand what's needed for them. And I think you made a valid point that how could there be 10 years of advocacy for this office? The man has been there for 3 years. You're abolishing it as if it's still not needed. And you don't have any kind of lateral way to provide the same resources and support that was needed for the office in the first place.
That's right. And at the same time, under Steve Willis, he developed a plan of equity. And this plan, it had to be 2024, 2027. When you see that plan, it never says to shut down the office in 2026. It's like they decide finally to have a diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging office.
Right.
After many years
Okay.
of a community advocating for that. After many years, they decide to open in 2023, in May. The plan comes 2024, 2027, and the immediate changes that we noticed here in Secate, it was that we finally had a bridge, direct communication about many of the issues that the students bring and in which there were no solutions before. Situations of harassment, situations of violence, situations of fighting, situations of misunderstandings, situations of racial profiling, situations of many things that finally we were able to communicate directly to an office and start to track things and start to find solutions. And here at Secate, we always say we want to be part of the solution. Secate has been always proposing, and we have been always open to the school district, and we have been working. Not all has been sweet. Many times we have pulled each other, we have challenged each other. However, there has been dialogue. There has been dialogue, and there has been communication.
So, what overtures, Obed, were made after the leadership of the school board came to your podcast? Have they communicated
No.
avenues of solutions to work
No.
with Casate in particular?
No, there was none. I affirm that here is Secate, always working with the school district. They might be new in the board, but Secate has been here for 15 years.
Right, but it would seem to me, if they claim that they're investing time to come physically to Casate, talk about all the questions and concerns that you had, it would seem to me that they would respect the platform that you gave them, the work that you've been doing, your proven results, to re-engage with you and say, this is what's happening next. Come on in.
What do you suggest?
Absolutely.
Or what Secate can suggest on this experience?
Or even the knowledge, or not
Or the
really
knowledge.
knowing how you had a partnership with the DEI office or your history to say, we're looking at phasing this out. What do you think could be added to this role that we're seeing?
Exactly.
Just some input.
Or what will be a transition?
Correct.
Because
what
one
does
of-
the transition
exactly.
look like?
Because one of the things that I mentioned,
sorry.
one of the things that I mentioned in the meeting was that you are cutting a tree.
Sure, I
You
love
are-
that analogy.
I told them, you are cutting a tree. You plant the tree in 2023. You say diversity, equity, and inclusion is important to us and belonging. We'll cultivate this tree. This little tree started to flourish, it started to grow. In the first cycle, it will end still small at the end of 2027. And then the discourse and what Dr. Williams says is that we are passing from an office, from a position to a culture. And I said, well, that sounds great. It sounds beautiful. However, this school district is not ready for that. You cannot tell me that you are having a tree that you cut and suddenly you are telling me that now you have a forest, that you have a culture, that students do not need to go to any office or parents to go to any office because everything is DI and belonging. I said, that's not truth. That's not truth. And the problem with that is that I believe less people will report what is happening.
Sure.
Less kids will report the harassment that they have. Less kids will report when they need something. Less kids will report the misunderstandings or the fightings or the concerns that they might have, like they just recently walk out during the for Ice Out.
And did you know there was 500 students? I learned that yesterday, that there was 500 students that walked out. I think the one of the factors that's going to happen why students aren't going to engage now is because they don't trust them. They don't trust the board, and I think they don't trust what leadership will occur.
And what they will do for them.
Correct.
That day in the meeting 2 weeks ago,
Yes.
The students spoke.
Sure. Yes. Powerful.
And they say the only tool that we have, you are cutting it. Because what it didn't come clear to me in that presentation that Dr. Williams gave, that was a last-minute presentation. Just like the results, just like the firing,
Yeah. Everything was haphazard.
they didn't give us time to process that. Now, I was able there. I changed my command. I listened,
Sure.
and I started to think, here is a problem. This is last minute. They are not giving us time to process. Then in that moment, I responded to that. You cannot pass from position to culture without having accountability, without telling me right now to who I had to direct now. Because Secate has built this bridge with them. Monthly meetings, monthly conversations. Here in Secate pass hundreds of people every week. We have conversations with the students. We listen what they do. We listen what is happening with them. Therefore, and we understand the situations that they are passing every single day. Therefore, we had the direct conversation with them to say, this is the stress, this is the anxiety, this is what they experience in the school bus, this is what they experience in the street, this is what they experience in this, these are the fights that are happening, this is the concern for the presence even of weapons inside the school district. Therefore, to have an office, to have a central office that can listen directly to the community is a good thing. To cut it down is practical, and to say that now we have a culture is practically to say, I don't want to listen. Because that's why that day I say, to whom I go? Do I go to you, Dr. Williams? That will be your role. Do I go to Mr. Lemke, to Mr. Caldwell, to Mrs. Davenport?
But you're saying something. You know what's interesting? Just by the law, the board is only allowed to hire the superintendent. The superintendent hires everything else. The assistant superintendent, the cabinet level officers, oversees the hiring of teachers. So the involvement of the board influencing, I'm going to say, Dr. Williams to come up with this position, in my opinion, Obed, is excessive abuse of their powers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there could be two reasons why they're doing this shift. They may not like Mr. Willis, but like you said, that has nothing to do with the office. I know that position is roughly $163,000 a month. A year. And they need to shift that money in other places as well, because I don't think maybe the chief of schools will be that much. But the point is, they're going to have financial constraints. So when you think about their choice of even spending $80,000 just for a contract, when they could have, worked through the MCIU process and influence that for free, because they're part of that group.
Right.
They just have made their own decisions haphazardly. And so when you hear Jeremiah talking about his years of experience or whatever, he didn't even have his own children in the school system. So he's not coming from a perspective
of the public education.
Right. Or this public education, or your journey as a parent.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that is also a short-sighted process of decision making that is singular focused on his belief and not the greater good. And that's, I think, where we're at right now, is that where is there a demonstration that they're actually doing these things for the greater good of the community?
Exactly. And what it concerns to me, and that for me this is a red light.
Sure.
No, and people can challenge my position.
Okay.
However, look at the context where we are now. This year has been one of the most difficult years
Sure.
in town, even worse than previous year.
Sure.
This year has been one of the most difficult years in town. We know the presence of ICE. We know the anxiety that has been creating.
Sure.
This is the worst time.
To have all these abrupt changes
Exactly.
in what? So February, March, April, in a 3-month period.
Exactly. When you have parents that are concerned every day when they put the kids to the school, that ICE will show up in a bus stop. We have seen what ICE does.
Well, attendance.
We have seen that they don't care about the kids.
Yeah.
It seems to me that the school district is disconnected. I mean, the board is disconnected with the reality and the anxiety that the parents has and the reality that they have been living. Instead of that, they are cutting the bridge that was so important today, that has been key today. Because all this we voice directly to the office every month. Every month we had that meeting with Mr. Willis. Every month we were able to give me 1 second because I want to bring something that I want to show you.
Sure.
Me Juan, you can. We have to ask to the engineer.
Well, what I do want to say to the community, it's really, really important that you, if you can't make the school board meetings in person, please start viewing them online, because you have to listen and see how they're facilitating meetings, how they're voting. I was just encouraging the community at large watching the podcast that if they can't be at school board meetings in person, that they should really start to begin to look at them virtually.
I will not show this to the public because it will come the moment we will make it show. However, since November 7, 2024, Secate has been following how the kids, the families feel.
Oh my gosh. It breaks my heart.
Spring 2025, just quickly, for people to know that I am real. Look at this.
I want to just... We are also humans.
We are also humans. No? We are also humans. Therefore, here is November. Here is spring.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this.
That's awful.
Therefore, this is...
Therefore,
we were able to show to the office how the community has been feeling the racism, the xenophobic spirit of ICE, the pain that the families are feeling, the anxiety that is growing in the kids and their families.
Absolutely.
And in this time, look at this. Look at this one.
Awful.
Look at this one.
Awful.
Look at this one. Therefore, this is the worst moment.
Yeah.
This is the worst moment for them to cut the diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging office. And I am saying it as an educator, as a social leader, as an anthropologist, as a communicator. This is the worst moment because you are cutting a tree and you are not giving the transition in how they will pass. Therefore, my concern that I wanted to make after showing you this, because we have followed everything all the way to last week. Therefore, here we have almost a year and a half that we have been following how the families are feeling. But my commentary is coming to this. I wanted to show you all this because my concern is, and this is the red light, who has been cutting in the nation the diversity, equity, inclusion offices all around the nation.
The president, Donald Trump, their ideologies, MAGA is all in favor of that.
Exactly.
And that is a MAGA type of approach.
Exactly. To cut it in the worst moment, in the moment when the family is most needed,
Sure.
when the families are experiencing this level of anxiety,
Absolutely.
they cut the office. For me, that is a MAGA action.
Absolutely. It would be.
They can argue that no, they can argue that they no. For me, that is a MAGA action.
Well, even
Insensitive.
still, I was getting ready to say
Yeah.
that word that just shows their insensitivity of the issue. And I want to just stress that Norristown is the only school district in the county that has 52% Hispanic students, and 25% Black. But when you look at a Cheltenham or an Abington, the numbers are a little bit different. But they don't. No one has that dynamic of 52 Hispanics, 25% Black, or the fact that you're not cognizant that 80% of the school student body is economically disadvantaged. So what does that look like as well? And that shows an insensitivity to the acute issues that stumble from that. And then you've got to take all these other layers of subculture issues that middle school and high school students are doing. When we looked at that safety report, there was numerous reports on assaults and substance misuse, substance selling, assault on staff, assault on each other, fighting. I made a comment and that, there's a marijuana culture amongst young people. And the potency level of the marijuana that they're consuming creates psychosis in their brains and their bodies.
Right.
And they have cognitive differences as a result of that. And whether they're using it to cope, whether they're doing it because it's a habit, you have to factor that in as well. And they need parent allyship. They need community advocate allyship, real advocacy, real allyship where they're constantly engaging and getting feedback. There's no way from February to May, essentially, that you can effectively make the right choice, before making the right choice, effectively engage with the many facets of the community. I think too, when you look at your school district, the Hispanic community alone, there's four groups, right? Four community groups. You have now two major Hispanic groups, Dominican and Mexican, right? But the Dominicans are coming from Philadelphia or New York. So their issues are different if you have a population of immigrants, non-English speaking families, right? So that alone takes time to cultivate that. And I also remember one time when you had said that it took Dormer about 2 years to actively foster a relationship with you. Now, my opinion in knowing other types of superintendent hirings, on the surface, if it's a half-decent school district, it takes that person at least 2 years to get acclimated. Now you have more kitchen sink issues right in the beginning. Here you have the highest population of Hispanic students. ICE has been prevalent all around. What is the fallout behind that? What is the fallout on the attendance of kids at the high school not coming to school? That's just one aspect, right? Then at the last board meeting, when they were talking about the budget, and they were talking about all the different types of specialists that are needed for learning challenged students, the autistic, the different types of special ed, all of those things. That's a whole nother beast, right? Then you have the issues with the Black community. It's so many things that are on top of a regular person being acclimated.
Exactly.
Then let's just say they hire somebody that's not from Pennsylvania, not from the region. Can you imagine inheriting all of that? There's a basic acclimation. You need time to understand the community cultures, and then you still have existing issues.
And without a diversity, equity,
También.
inclusion, and
Todo.
belonging office.
Exactly.
All that
On top of that.
on top of that. Therefore, it doesn't take to be genius
Yes.
to understand that in one diverse community and school district that we have, to have an office of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is necessary, is essential. Because when you say that it's embedded in all the culture, it means that no one is responsible for that. Because at this moment, after June, I don't know to who I go. I don't know with whom I meet. And if that's me, which is a social leader in town,
What about everyone
what
else?
about everyone else?
Absolutely.
What about the parents? What about the
the
kids?
students?
Therefore, if you saw me very upset on Monday, it was because it's painful to see what I just showed you and to see the insensitivity. And that tells you that they are completely disengaged with what has been happening in town.
The other thing that we should bring up before we get off is their willfulness to micromanage. And the reason why I'm saying that is they can justify talking to building administrators. They can justify talking to students, which is not their role. I mean, not students, teachers. But yet two students actively shared with them what the DEI office abolishment would mean to them. And those students haven't heard from anyone from the last 2 weeks.
Right.
Not a courtesy call, not a follow-up. I validate your voice. Nothing. But the board president openly said that he's assigned 2 schools per school board member to oversee the functioning of the principal and the teachers. And that's not their role.
No, because they are not administrators.
Exactly.
They're
And
confusing their power.
Absolutely. But because they exist, because the students are there, it would seem apropos that they would have at least reached out to these students. But nothing. And I think the silence is very telling.
Exactly.
The inaction is very telling.
Therefore, when they say that they are transparent, they have been doing exactly the opposite. Even in one moment, they say this is the most transparent process of all history in the school district. Those are the words.
I have it in writing.
Exactly, those are the words.
I have it in writing.
And who speak like that? We have listened that in the nation. Trump, exactly.
So what are we really doing here? And what are you really representing? Are you really conservative? But see, that goes again
Exactly.
to my point about reforming the school board code, because at the end of the day, someone's ideology is influencing their decision making.
Exactly. Now, I
I'm sorry.
I have been passing during driving from to the school district these days to the office, and I saw on the board recently that they say everybody is welcome here, and they put all the languages, many languages, and the LGBTQ colors, which is good. I will say that's great. It's good that they are making that statement. That is not something that I saw, and I drive there.
Did you ask
almost every
Mr.
day.
Willis if he influenced
And
that?
I want to ask, because that is something that I noticed 2 days ago. However, if that is only to calm the waters, because we have been raising the concern, I want to let them know that we don't want only cosmetic changes. It's good that you did that. It's good that it's in the board. It's good that it's public. That's good. However, what the policies that you are taking, the decisions that you are taking, are telling me the contrary. To erase the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office is more important for us than the board. Well, the board is good. Don't move it. Keep it. However, it's more important for the community to have that office where we can channel all this.
Well, I would take some copies of some of those that you feel are appropriate, and get this, Obed, you can submit it to the board and ask it to be in the records.
We'll talk about that because we are still processing.
Well, I just think
yes.
anything. Here's
Yes.
the point. I think the community needs to keep demonstrating
Yeah,
that they are not pleased with their
Yeah.
decisions.
yeah,
And we need to, in our own way, in the current status,
Yeah.
keep pushing for accountability.
exactly.
And one of the things that I said that I feel kind of not bad for the board, but we're going to look back at this time
Yeah, absolutely.
and be able to see that it wasn't transparent. They
Yeah.
weren't forthright. They rushed the process. That a person coming into the situation, there's too much at one time. And people have great expectations for the superintendent that I don't think is realistic.
Yeah.
Because they want there's sports people that want the sports program to be improved. There's, different vested interest, right? But again, a normal person acclimating into a new role of a superintendent already has a learning curve time
Exactly.
on basic stuff.
Exactly. And one of the things is because we are protecting the identities.
Oh, no, I
For the
get that.
students.
But at least maybe
However,
show it up
exactly,
or something.
Exactly.
That you have a stack.
No, and also we are preparing something, a report on this.
Oh, well, I
that can-
apologize.
that
I
can
wasn't
be-
trying
no,
to
no,
go
no,
ahead
that,
of
no,
myself.
no, that's fine because this is very powerful.
It's
And it-
extremely
and-
powerful.
And we have been following since November.
I have
This
goosebumps.
is not last week. This is not last week.
I have goosebumps.
This is something that we thought and that we have been following because we know that to register is so important in this time. It's so important in this time. And to keep the records, it will allow us to show and to make the case and to say what is happening here is very insensitive.
The last thing for the community, understand that the board has to pass a budget before
Yeah.
June 30th as well. And what they do for the needs of your student is relevant.
Yeah.
And I made a comment, Obed, at the school board meeting that here we have the superintendent and now the DEI officer sitting at the table with people that are sharing how they're replacing their role, sharing what they're going to do and dismantle both the superintendent's role and the DEI person. And yet those men have to sit there and listen to it for another 2 months.
Wow. Wow. Exactly.
That's poor governance.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's rushed governance.
It's Rush government.
It's short-sighted. It's abrupt.
But everything has been rushing.
Absolutely.
Like executive orders.
Like-
Because you elected me, I say so.
And then the line about, I remember when I first went to one of the board meetings, when they presented the contract, Cynthia Davenport said, we did do our due diligence. Trust us. Trust us. So I said, where's the evidence of trust? Where's the evidence of respect? Where's the evidence of regard? Where's the evidence of real inclusiveness and community engagement? As we sit here a month from when they presented this survey,
And
we
when
have
they
no
were sitting
idea.
down here.
Huh?
And they were
that-
sitting
right.
down here.
And we've heard nothing. And yet they're going to make a decision and the board's going to vote on a candidate?
And the last claim, in this case of Mr. Bill Caldwell, saying, give us time. And I say, you are asking us time, but you are not giving us time.
Right.
You are asking us time, but you are not giving us time. There is one authority that is more powerful than other authorities, which is the moral authority.
Sure.
When you have the authority to ask for something because you have given that. I have given you time. I have worked with you. Therefore, give us time. In that moment, I believe if the community is engaged and was given the time, believe me, we will support the process because we will be part of the process. But when they are rushing and not giving the time and then ask us for time, not to react, not to think,
Sure.
not to question, asking us practically, shut up.
We know what we're doing?
Can we?
No.
No, we can't. We can't after seeing this. I can't. Exactly.
I can't. I am a different advocate right now, seeing that and the timeline and when they did it and that
Yeah.
it's even gotten more extensive as
Yeah, oh,
time
yeah.
went on.
Yeah, exactly. And
The one picture where there's a picture where their eyes are really big, just you could see the stress and anxiety. Talking about it's just awful.
Therefore, this is the worst time
To have all these
to
changes.
have all these changes. This is just the worst time. And that tells me how disconnected they are with the school district.
I think another evidence of that would be if we just went out on our own and surveyed people. Did you know that they're hiring a new superintendent? Did you know that they abolished the DEI office? Did you know that they paid money for a staffing firm from Chicago? You know, just some basic questions, and you will see that there's no engagement. There's no awareness.
And no awareness, because the communication has been limited.
Very much so.
Yeah. Well, this is the first of I hope many podcasts that we'll have with Carmina, because we'll follow both these, because many changes are coming. Supposedly next month we'll have the new superintendent. We will know who is he, no,
Or her.
and yeah, I don't want to put a gender right now, just because I hear things, no, but it's okay. He or her, no,
Right.
or them, no. In that sense, I will invite Carmina to come back. Then we can
Analyze all the
analyze all this in the month of June. What is the changes that are coming? This month we are dedicating to education. Sometimes it's sweet, sometimes it's not. Next week we have a fantastic podcast with young people. That will be a beautiful one, and because you will listen hope, and you will listen future, and you will listen what the young people are planning to do after high school. Therefore, without saying anything else that you would like to add, Carmina?
I just think that everyone should start observing as much as you can and talk to your kids. Mm-hmm. Ask them how they're feeling in the process. Mm-hmm. Let that be your mousse to do something. Everyone can make change. I think the school board directors need to see other voices, different communities represented at meetings, and be engaged.
Exactly. And one last thing that I would like to add on this one is that if you are listening tonight, you will find this in Spotify, in Apple Podcasts. It is on Facebook, and it is in YouTube. And after that, share it. It's important. It's important that parents and residents of Norristown Area School District know about this. And we didn't address all the issues, because there are more issues that we had to address, like the taxes, LERTA, the tax abatement, etc. There are other things that we had to address that we didn't address today, but you see the amount of things. You see the amount of things that has been put in couple months over the community. Over the community. Over our children, that are the ones who are feeling it very strongly.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Carmina, for being with us today.
Thank you, Obed.
I say goodbye desde la ciudad de la fraternidad, Philadelphia, from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, in the suburb of Norristown. You were in Diálogos de la Villa Inmigrante. Until the next week. And happy Mother's Day this Sunday. Feliz Día de las Madres. Celebre a sus madres, celebre a sus madrecitas y que tengan una feliz fiesta. Gracias.